Hey everybody, there's a lot going on this Sunday. It is Trinity Sunday. It is the Sunday where clergy all over the world try to explain how we worship just one true God, but it's actually three in one. Three Christ, Creator Christ, Holy Spirit, but one true God, and they try to explain that, and it's always fun to listen to how they do that. It's also the first Sunday of ordinary time in the liturgical year of the church. In the liturgical calendar, it's not any special season. It's not Eastertide, it's not Lent, it's not Advent, it's not the Christmas season. It's just ordinary time. And of course, it's also the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, the weekend in which we remember those who gave their lives in service to our country. So that's a lot. That's a lot to happen in one weekend. But I think they all tie together rather nicely. So when we talk about the Trinity, one of the most famous examples is that St. Patrick used the shamrock to explain how the Trinity works. That there is this one leaf that has three leaves on it, so it's three in one. Another one that I like is the idea of perichoresis, which is a nice fancy Greek word. And it's the image of Creator Christ and Holy Spirit holding hands and dancing together. That this community exists of these three entities dancing together as one. And that's a lovely image of how the Trinity works. But basically, the most important thing about the Trinity, other than the fact that it is a mystery and it calls on us to rest in the mystery instead of to continue to try to explain it, and that drives some people crazy. But when it comes to a life of faith and a life in the Spirit, sometimes we just have to lean into the mystery. However, I think the most important thing about the Trinity is the idea that God's self dwells in community, and we who are created in God's image are called to dwell in community as well. Even when community is messy, even when community is hard, we are not called to go it alone. We were created to dwell in community. And that has been really hard over this last year plus, when we have not been able to gather in our communities, in our faith communities, in our communities of family and friends. And here we are, as the world is opening back up, as we are able to gather around the table with family, with friends who have become family, here we are in ordinary time. I have often thought that the people who designed the liturgical calendar many moons ago just got lazy and just said, yeah, this is nothing special, we'll just call it ordinary time. But how much are you craving some ordinary time right now? And how much are those things that we took for granted is being so ordinary, being able to gather for Sunday dinner with friends and family? How much do we crave that now? How grateful are we for that? How extraordinary has ordinary time come? So I think this summer of ordinary time will be like no other, because all of a sudden, ordinary is something wonderful, it is something special, it is something sacred indeed. The fact that we get to re-enter our communities. And there may be some struggles with that. I know it is hard when we have been separate and apart for so long to start dwelling in community again. So be gentle with yourself, do what you need to do to take care of you, but know that it is in community that we are called to dwell. So whatever steps you need to take and however slowly you need to take that steps, do begin to re-enter being a part of your communities once again. And of course, it's Memorial Day weekend when we remember those who gave their lives in service to this country. It's a good time to remember that no matter how anti-war you are, and I am very anti-war, we can still support those who choose to serve our country in the armed services. I like to paraphrase comedian Mike Birbiglia, who says, I totally support the troops, because if they weren't the troops, I would have to be the troops, and I would make lousy troops. Truth, I would make terrible troops. I always support the troops. And I think we can certainly, no matter how anti-war, pro-peace people we are, we can honor the memory of those who sacrificed their lives for the life we live now. And it's a good time to remember that those who came before us help us to be who we are and where we are now. Now, are there some who made some decisions, and I'm not talking about veterans, but just people who came before us in history who made decisions that have put us in not so great places right now? Sure. But there are people who came before us, who made sacrifices, who gave of their lives, their reputations, their standing in the community to make sure that people had the right to vote, to make sure that people had the right to marry, to make sure that people enjoy all sorts of rights we have now that we didn't have 150, even 10 years ago. So Memorial Day, when we remember those who gave their lives in service to this country, it's a great time to remember that we didn't get here by ourselves, that there are people who came before us, that our community is not just the people that sit in front of us today, but the community of saints who came before us and sacrificed for us so that we might have some of the rights and some of the freedoms and some of the privileges that we have today. So it's a great weekend to remember who our community is, who we are called to be, that the God who dwells in community created us in God's image, that we are called to community and we are being called back to in-person community right now, and it is something to be very grateful for. Our community extends to the people who came before us, the communion of saints. So this weekend, this Trinity Sunday, this first Sunday of Ordinary Time, this Memorial Day weekend, give thanks for our God who dwells three in one, for the community around us, and for those who came before us to pave the way.